All right, another late night aimless talk. Not as late, but pretty late. Got a long, another long list. It's hard, like write down stuff throughout the day, but go on, I go on mini rants and mini tangents in my head throughout the entire day, and it's like, damn, that was good. It was all in my head, but it was like really good, and I try to remember everything I just said. Um, and then store it somewhere in the back of my head and like, okay, I'm gonna use that later. And then I write it down and I look at what I wrote down and I think I barely remember what I was talking about in my head. So there's probably a lot of good stuff that gets said, but just in my head and it never makes to the camera. But with the way AI and Elon Musk with the chips in the head is going, we may have just access to our thoughts and be able to record that and put that out at the end of the day. Who knows what? That's just beyond me. The hands, you'll see the hands going up intermittently. There's paint on them. Just got done painting in the basement. So again, this is the reality. This is the reality podcast, the reality channel. Nothing's faked. Every I have the piece of paper. I have the phone, and that's it. There's no really besides the paper. There's not like a pre-script, not a pre-plan. This isn't even in order. This is the hardest part about this is there's no so when you if you ever notice there's no good smooth transitions in between topics, it's because I'm not scripting a smooth transition. It's just I'm just talking. So this with the paint on the hands and just came back from painting downstairs. Now I sat down, looked at the time. I want to get up really early tomorrow morning and try to log at least an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of cardio, half run, half on the uh, assault bike. So once I get up early, I'm looking at the time. Like I gotta pump this out because I want to stay fresh with this. I want to keep them rolling. So there's just so much that comes to my head that I don't want it to get wasted. So we're just gonna um, get through this one here as smoothly as possible and trying to cover everything as much as possible in a timely manner. I say that, but I'll end up probably being another long one. But just I guess speaking to the whole realness of not only this, but just my approach with my role as a coach, my role as a leader, my role as a business owner. It the one thing I've noticed that's like really shifted is not being a yes man or a people pleaser has probably been one of if not the best things that I've really not purposefully changed, but just I'm just being real and just being a lot more authentic, and that seems to be rubbing off very well on people. And obviously, when you are a yes man, when you're a people pleaser, it, you it is what it and by definition you are pleasing everybody, or at least you try to. And sometimes you feel like in your attempt to please everybody, you're pleasing nobody in a way, if that makes sense. Or at least you're not pleasing the ones that or a crowd that you're trying to attract. So um, where I'm going with this essentially is that by being an authentic coach and being an authentic leader, your message comes across a lot clearer, and people respect that a lot more. And in a way, it's almost disrespectful to not give people your true authentic self. And that's something that again, so with these videos, that's something I hope that people gain, you know, a realization to just about me in general, and that's just these thoughts are going to just come out, and not a lot of people, unless you're in the gym training with me, you're hearing this, but the other large percentage of the population, you're not getting it. You see the videos online, but not really putting out many true thoughts on that. I mean, I've already talked about that. Half the time, my captions on there are just satire, and it's just meant to be fun. But this is meant to be more of that real realization, the real talk. So by switching from that whole trying to please everybody approach to being authentic and real, it's such a, like a you have such a deeper connection now, I feel like, with the people who, all right, so it wasn't the battery this time. Usually it's the phone dying. It was actually this the storage on the phone, so we had to go back and clear a bunch of stuff on the storage. um, so I think we should be good now. I found a bunch of old videos that were really long that definitely did not need to be I've already used them for various Instagram posts, so I just kind of got rid of those. But I guess, all right. So back on track. The whole point of the, shifting away from the yes man, being authentic. It, Again, it's damaging to people to not give them. You're providing people the answers that they want, not the answers they need. If somebody comes to you and they want to improve their performance in a sport, and you run them through a workout, you run them through assessment, however you do it, and they can't do 10 push-ups. To not be in, let's paint this a little bit more clear. Let's say it's a football player, okay, um, eighth grade football player, and they can't do 10 push-ups. It's almost pretty, like, almost pretty damaging to not tell them that, you're playing a sport where other people are really, they're trying to hurt you, and if you don't have the strength, the muscle, the durability to protect yourself, and you're playing a contact sport, and you just brush it off because you don't want to hurt their feelings that they are weak. It's almost that's more damaging than just being honest. Say, hey, like, we have some work to do, and you just present them with your thoughts, your real thoughts. Hey, you're going to be playing against kids next year that are bigger than you, faster than you, stronger than you, and they're going to try to hit you and hurt you. And we got to do something about that. So that's kind of the whole thing I'm getting at is you have to be honest with people about where they currently lie, um, and the road to get to where their goals are, where they should be, and you have to just communicate that clearly. And there's the appropriate ways of doing it. There's not appropriate ways, and we see um, that happening all the time with certain coaches that are always getting in trouble for the way that they are interacting with athletes. And there's very unacceptable ways of doing it, and there's very acceptable ways of doing it. And you have to have that blend where you're real with them, but you're coming from a place of love. And that's my favorite thing to do is, anybody who's willing to sacrifice their time, their financial resources and their effort to come work with me. I am. It's almost, I view my business, the gym, all the athletes that come through, I view them as an extension of my family, and I treat them as such. And I would never be dishonest to a member of my family because I want them to be the best version of themselves, and then that's the most appropriate way to handle it. And I feel like that's something I've really shifted with in the past year or two, is just not being a people pleaser to everybody. And you need to be real to people. And um, I definitely notice a lot closer connection with a lot of the athletes and parents and everybody that I interact with, and they really do appreciate that. And again, we're referring to my kids again. They're young, but it's just as they get older and they start to go through these phases of life of development in terms of not just like athletics, but just growing up as a kid, you have to be real and authentic and honest to them. And there's not really much time to was it almost said cherry coat, sugarcoat things. But yeah, so that's uh that's kind of where I was going with my train of thought on that. But it almost reminded me. So I had alluded to the whole 10 push up. So if the athlete couldn't do 10 push ups, that's not appropriate and unacceptable if they're planning on participating in a sport where there's a significant amount of physical contact. Excuse me. And that had me thinking, the standard of fitness for just general youth athletes, and when I use the word youth, I'm thinking middle school to high school, is really lowered. And I know I've already been talking about this before, but it's just something I thought about, and it's because I heard real famous coach from Ohio, Jim Wendler. I had heard him talking about how he really has shifted, within his. So he's at a high school in Ohio, and he runs the strength program there, and he really shifted away from tracking. Because if you go into any high school, you'll see the records for bench, squat, deadlift, and all the lifts. And he said he's really shifted away from tracking those types of numbers and propping them up. Um, that was a bad way to say it. He is tracking them, but not propping them up and putting them up for everybody to see. And he's been really focused a lot on, can you run a mile in 7 minutes, and are you able to do 50 push-ups and 10 pull-ups? It's like these basic movements and exercises and tests of your fitness that all athletes should be able to do. And it is amazing because just thinking of all the athletes that I've ever worked with, and if we were to have them run through like on their first day, can they run a mile in 7 minutes? Can you do 30, 40, 50 push-ups? Can you do 5 to 10 strict pull-ups? I mean, you're looking at a very, to throw a percentage at it's going to be tough, but I mean it's definitely less than half of them will be able to achieve that. And again, this is where the whole everybody wants this specialization, this X and X sport specific, X movement specific programs. Yet we can't even accomplish simple tests of our general fitness. And I feel like I'm being a dead horse with this whole specialization thing, but it's just, again, something that I had thought about today. And it's just, whatever sport you're in, whatever, male, female, you're middle school, high school, you play a fall sport, winter sport, spring sport, there's just basic things that you should be able to do. And it's unacceptable to be weak. There's no excuse to be weak. There's no excuse to be unfit. With all the access we have to the most optimal way to eat, train, hiring somebody to be the commander of all that for you, there's absolutely no excuse to be weak. And I don't care if you are an endurance athlete, there's no excuse that you can't do 50 push-ups. I hear this all the time where, well, my sport doesn't require me to be strong. My sport doesn't require me to do this. I don't care. You should be strong regardless of what you're doing. And life is easier when you're stronger. Your whatever sport activity you're doing is going to be easier if you're stronger. It's going to be easier if you're more fit, if you're healthier. All of your physiological biomarkers are going to be better off. You're going to feel better. It's just, there's no, you can't give me a single reason or excuse as to why you shouldn't be doing X thing to improve your fitness. It's just, that's always something that's really like, especially recently, just because we see the trend in youth physical fitness is we don't even have gym classes anymore. You're not allowed to, you know, it's an extreme example, but you hear kids all the time, you can't play dodgeball because it's too physical. You just hear all these things, and it's like that compounding it on just people making excuses as to why they don't want to do something or they can't do something. It's just it's just unacceptable, and you have to have a certain base level of strength. You have to have a certain base level of fitness, regardless of whatever gender, age, sport you participate in. So that had me fired up earlier, and that's one of those things in my head where I'm just riffing, and it's just like, damn, I know I'm not going to remember all that. And I think I got to a lot of it. I know on my sheet here, I just wrote down no excuse to be weak in all caps. So I was really kind of pissed off, I think, at the moment of writing that. Um, but moving on. So there was so today's Friday. I had a fantastic, an amazing 3 o'clock session today. And it just reminded me and uh, confirmed everything that I think and believe is is right about the way we do our programming. And obviously people aren't going to agree with it, not only just other coaches in the industry, but really anybody that has an opinion, a mouth and a tongue that wants to talk. So, but doing this for as long as I've done it and work with such a variety of athletes in just different settings, and um, you know, it's like that old quote about you have to find 100 different ways to fail before you find that one way to succeed, and that's kind of where I'm at right now. I found that one way to succeed, and the 3 p.m. session, it had, I believe there was 14, 14 or 15 athletes, and there was a handful of girls, the rest were guys. 2 or 3 were in middle school, the rest in high school. Some were upperclassmen, lowerclassmen. Just obviously, some of them play the same sports, some play different sports, and it's all about coming together and training hard, pushing each other, developing the GPP, the general physical preparedness, hammering the basics, yet building off of them when necessary. And, so let's just run through this workout real quick. We started out with a basic stretch, dynamic warm up. We did some band stretching, partner stretching. We did a dynamic warm up. And then I bust out the lasers. We did some laser sprints, competition, instant feedback onto how fast you're going. It's sprinting. And then we just did a different, today I had them doing a sprint in I had 3 little hexagons placed out, and you had to hit your right foot, right foot, right foot in each one as you're running. So you're doing these like little toe tap steps that you have to tap your right foot in, and then you have to go to the next one. There, it it's just like I like to live in the moment of these training sessions, so I'm not videoing it. I'll have to try to maybe video that some other time, because that was a really good drill. I'm probably gonna have some other people do that eventually. And I'll probably throw it in here in another video. But we did our sprints, and then I just break them up. And that's the thing about the way I do the programming in the sessions. It's always starting together, and then I'm going to start to divide it up. I always call it like divide and conquer. We're going to split it up. Who needs this today? Who needs this? Who needs this? And then we just tear it up. And that's exactly what it was. There was the football guys were ripping apart the sleds and the sandbags. I had the girls doing some benching and some jump squats with weight, and then we did some conditioning. They did some conditioning at the end, upper body conditioning with some uh, assault bike mixed in. Guys were just maxing out sled pushes. All the while, it's just all together. You're doing the friendly form of competition. You're pushing each other. It's just, this is why when somebody reaches out to me and they get turned off by the fact that it's not one-on-one training or it's not specific to them. It's just, this is where the whole idea of me being, you know, irritated by the whole specificity trend is because it doesn't work. And I say that because I know it doesn't, because I've done it. I was always telling people on specialization programs, because it's a cheap way to get a mass amount of a clientele. It's a way to appeal to everybody. It is the people pleaser approach, um, because like that's what people want to hear. They don't want to hear the hard truth that, you know, if you can't do these basic levels of markers of fitness that I've already mentioned, that you don't need a specialized program. You need to be in there with, you know, your comrades, training hard, doing the basics. We progress them, and then guess what? Every marker of your fitness improves. Your strength improves, your max strength improves, your endurance improves, your speed improves, and it just all boils down to giving max effort, being consistent, being disciplined, doing the things that you need to do outside of the training sessions as far as recovery, not doing anything stupid to your body. Just all that comes together. And it is a lifestyle, it's an attitude, and that's the one that I want to cultivate. I don't want to have this approach I used to have. And as they say, if you don't, you know, if you want to change the world, start by making your own bed first. And that's really what I've done. And it just again reconfirms everything that I have been seeing and believe in, and I love it. It's just such a bringing just these athletes together for one common goal, and then getting them to push each other and getting them to believe in each other and believe in that one common goal. Is just, it is amazing, and it's just something that again, it's the it's almost that anti specialization, anti fancy approach. It is that more of the Rocky style attitude. And I really feel like I do pride myself on being the, you know, most, it's a this is like, it's almost like a sweet and sour sauce by programming, in the sense that you know, it's a very intensive sessions and a very intensive programming, but it's not irresponsibly intensive. There's always saying like anybody with a whistle and a clipboard can make you tired, and that is so true. And it takes a real true professional to strategically design and program intensive workouts, and that's something that I feel like is my strong suit, and something that is definitely, you know, I hate making this about talking about me, but it is important for prospective athletes that want to work with me, or current athletes that are watching this, or if you're like, you know, if you are a parent of a current athlete, you never hear me talk or see me, this is like the important information to know. And it's just, I think it's the most, and there's a nice, it's nice to have confidence, and that's something that you know, I try to talk to these kids a lot about. And you have to believe in yourself. And so when I say that, I do believe that, you know, my program, my style is the best blend of both worlds, of where it is intellectual but it's intensive. It's those two, the two eyes, intellectually intensive. Should put that on a shirt. To have to clip this video, and at that part specifically, intellectually intensive. That'll go on the next shirt for sure. Um, but yeah, so just that 3 p.m. session was just a nice little reminder that I have marked down in between that 3 p.m. session. Uh, one of the just feeding off of the whole, you have to try, you have to give max effort, you have to be bought in. I had written down this little note about somebody who recently, so in the previous video, I was talking about we were doing the keepy uppy drill. I'm just basically agility drill with the balloon, and it's really good if you try. Like, you have to put in the effort. You have to try to run for. You have to try to hit it away from the partner. And if you don't do any of that, the drill is dumb. It doesn't make sense. You're staying there barely jogging after the balloon. It then at that point it becomes a dumb balloon drill. But if you try and you're actually going hard, you get the result. I had mentioned actually in that video about how there was people diving and they're like all cut up and bleeding. I'm gonna clip a video in right now. There we go. I think that's a girl whose knee was bleeding the other day from this exact drill. So it's just, again, it goes back to this is like anything in life. Let's start with me. The program works if you work. You get good grades if you work. You get promotions in your job if you work. Like, nothing happens if you're not. Rarely is something in life great going to happen. Things do, but there's you have to pump in your own effort and work if you want that reciprocation of where you get rewarded for your effort. Things just are, these promotions don't just come organically. You don't get results organically. You have to put in effort. And I saw I saw her knee today. It was still cut up, so I had to take a video of it because I just think it's awesome. You should be diving for the balloon. You should be going hard, and that's what it's all about. And I love that. Going through, I'm looking at the list here. The last thing I have marked down again was is all in caps with exclamation points, with a foul word in it. So I think this was a really, I remember writing this because I was writing it more about myself. Just this was way more talking about myself than I wanted it to be. So we'll end with this. It's just I've been having like a lot of back type pain and issues, and it's like a kind of it's sort of an everyday thing. And I'm able to do mostly of what I want. It's just it does hurt, and there's things that make it worse, things that do make it better, and I really modify my training around it. And although I'm modifying it, it's always still max effort. And I had already mentioned that in the other video, and I think that is a good setting a good example. And I want to just further speak onto, you should, even if you have, so there's going to be obviously extreme cases where if you have sicknesses and ailments, injuries that absolutely are not, if you if you broke your back, you have a complete fracture of your femur. Like there's obviously extreme examples that we can use. If you have if you have mono, okay, like, so we don't need to live in that on the fringe for right now. Let's just speak more to our common aches and ailments. If you have a little bit of knee pain, you have a little bit of shoulder pain, you have a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and it's something that's manageable and you can work around, there's no reason that you should not be training. You should be training. You modify if it's a lower body injury. So a lot of the athletes, current and past, that I've had, they're coming off of, say, like a knee surgery. We do the knee stuff, and then the whole back half of the session is whatever condition that we can do, and core and upper body, and we do that as hard as possible. If it's a shoulder thing, you should be doing a tons of lower body as hard as possible. There's a million. If you can't, say if it's a shoulder injury and you can't push a sled, well, you tie a belt on and you just drag a sled with your waist and your legs. So you don't have to push sleds. Now you can get conditioning, you can get lower body strengthening. You can belt squat. You don't need your shoulder to do belt squats. It's just there's so many variations and things that you can do to work around injuries, and it's kind of like how I said earlier. There's no excuse to be weak. There's just really no excuse. Again, outside of the fringe, there's no excuse to not be doing something physically active while you have certain um, ailments, and that's again, it takes one to know one. Every day I do something physically active. Some days are really hard training. Some days are a little bit diff. They're hard for different reasons. Uh, if it's a heavy volume day of lifting, that's different than say a longer day of running. This stresses the body differently. So I'm always doing something, but um, it's always doing these little modifications to whatever I'm able to do as hard as possible. And that's like, oh, I guess that is the one caveat and the one good thing about having injuries, is that it teaches you these things, and it teaches you what you are capable of doing while injured, or while going through something. So um, what I wrote down uh, is basically so I just wrote down F injuries go hard. It's just because I just got done working out. I ran and I lifted, and I was feeling really good. And just that feeling of accomplishment when you're going through something is just so great that it is true to just, sometimes you just have to say, uh, F it, and you be responsible about it, but you don't, you're, if you're injured, you're not dead, essentially. So um, that's the list. I have a couple like ideas for a lot of future videos. So I got a lot of things like that I'm in the background, I'm in the works. Just been talking to a few people. So for now, I'm gonna keep just again writing down whatever comes. It seems like the majority of things that come to mind are um, inflammatory, and then you it's almost actually like a good thing that I'm not recording it in the moment. I'm thinking whatever I'm thinking throughout the day, because I feel like it would probably be better content than the late nights, like the late night decompression of where I'm just brain dumping. It'd probably be a little bit better content. Be just kind of I'd be driving it into the gym after being home, and I'm like all fired up, getting ready to get our training sessions in. So they're probably better content. But for now, it's gonna keep pumping these out, and then like I said, just got a few things in the works that I want to start to get out here. So it'd be interesting. It'll be fun. If anybody who's watching this, just a small handful, if you want to. So we're trying to think of like we feel like we need like a good intro or outro or something. So if you want to, the one outro or the one intro that I really like, I listen to a lot of Pat. Gosh, I don't know why I can always PPD. Pat Bet PPD. Patrick Bet David. Oh my! For some reason, I just like always can I fumble over his name. He's got a sick intro to his podcast videos. So you want to hit your boy up with some ideas for for an intro or something. Feel free to. But for now, we'll just keep it standard. So maybe I'll clip in some video here at the end. But so until next time, if you watch it and you made it through this, it's long again. it's hard to cut it short when you just have a lot to say. So I'm not gonna try to cut things out if I'm going somewhere. I don't want to. I know I said I'm always gonna speed through, but we'll. I like it's becoming more comfortable. Just getting it all out, and I hope that again, the whole like and subscribe and all this, share the videos. Yeah, sharing it would be awesome, but the whole like and subscribe. Just take the information, go do something with it, change your life, go train hard, go be a light to other people in the world. It's just too much negativity, too much bringing other people down. Um, it's really, speaking of PPD, one of his sayings for his apparel, it's the future's bright, and it does, and I get caught up in it as well. It's easy to look, you look at the way the world's going, like we're screwed, uh, which it's hard to not look at some of the things that are going on, and you're just like, we are just so doomed. But that's just not the attitude. That's not a good attitude to have. And his whole thing is the future is bright, and I like that. So just go be go be a good buddy to somebody, go be a good training partner to somebody, and go out there and dominate. So yeah, till next time, I'll leave you with that.